Calling to order the meeting for the Arlington Select Board on Monday, April 13th. I am John Hurd, Select Board Chair. To my right, we have
Joe Solomon.
Eric Helmuth.
Diane Mahan.
Steve DeCourcy.
James Feeney, Town Manager.
Michael Cunningham, Town Council.
Ashley Marr, Board Administrator.
All right, and we will get right into our agenda. First item is our consent agenda tonight. So we have number one, meeting of minutes. Minutes of meetings. A little typo on the agenda. This is in front of me. March 30th, 2026. Number two, EV and e-bike show and tell. Lori Kenchafee, Electrify Arlington Coordinator. Number three, acceptance of funds. Anna Litton, Director of Libraries. Number four, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month banners. Ramsha Baloch, DEI Director. Number five, Rainbow Commission requests for banners for Pride Month and Disability Month and proclamation, Ramsha Baloch. Number six, requests special one-day beer and wine license for the Robbins Memorial Town Hall for a private event. Number seven, special one-day beer and wine license, Robbins Memorial Town Hall for a private event. Number eight, outdoor dining, parklet and sidewalk cafe renewals. Parklet for Tris, sidewalk cafe for Banoon Market and Auto. And number nine, Arlington Eats Turkey Trot 5K race on November 8th, 2026. Natasha Storm from Arlington Eats. Do you have any motions?
Move approval.
Approval?
Second.
All right, any other comments, questions?
I'll just comment that I'm not sure this qualifies as a draw, but for the EV and e-bike show and tell, Selectman Helmuth will be demonstrating his electric bike at this event. So I talk about it all the time, and we're not allowed to ride them, but you can come look. It's a petting zoo. So.
Right.
And there'll be some good electric car vehicles as well, so it's a good time to learn about them.
Well, that's certainly a reason as any to go.
There you go.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Mahan, seconded by Mr. DeCourcy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have unanimous vote. Item number 10 on our agenda, public hearing for Kelwin Manor betterment. Mr. DeCourcy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I am a resident of the Kelwin Manor neighborhood, I'm going to recuse myself from this item.
All right, and the minutes can reflect that Mr. Corsi has left the room. All right, we have Jack Hurd on behalf of the petitioners. And Attorney Marr.
Members of the board, always glad to see you. Mr. Solomon, I haven't met you yet. I look forward to doing so. My name's Joe Barr. I used to work for the town.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having us and for entertaining this petition for us. My name is, for the record, Jack Hurd of Spy Pond Parkway in Arlington.
And John Marr, appearing pro bono for the folks down at Kelwin Manor.
Our advisor. So at this point, I'm revisiting. I was here about a month ago when you folks were reviewing the warrant article for funding, which we very much appreciate that opportunity, or that addition to the Private Way Act. So since then, we've basically going back 2 years, we first did the non-binding petition to ask the town to provide a detailed scope of work. Bill Copperthorne did that for us. He was outstanding, actually. It was very detailed, and he was extremely helpful in us putting that together. From there, we were able to put that out to bid. We solicited 8 bids from companies that could undertake a project of that size, and we selected D&R. It's a paving company, actually worked for the town quite a bit over the years. They were the lowest bid that met the requirements of the scope of work. From there, we did our second petition, the binding petition, utilizing the Private Way Act, and I'm happy to report that 75% of the residents, 198 total properties within the project area, voted yes. So it's, pleasantly surprised that, it's, the cost per home will be somewhere in the area of $7,500 to $7,900 per home. The low, the $7,500 being the actual price. We did put a 20% contingency clause in there for various issues that may come about. So, pleased to have that vote, and, we're here to answer any questions, and appreciate the board entertaining this request.
All right, and before I go to the board, this is a public hearing, so if anyone either in the chamber or on Zoom would like to speak at this hearing, you can raise your hand or use the raise hand function in Zoom.
Seeing no hands raised.
All right, I'll turn to the board for any questions, comments, or motions. Mrs. Mahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to highlight the fact, and I believe, Mr. Hurd, that you may have received a copy for this, just to have it on the record, I think is what the person is at, Mr. Sarandello of Sheridan Park. He indicated and provided the full board today with a letter saying that he spoke with the DNR General Contracting. He was told to CC Mr. Jack Hurd, and he did. And I think he just wanted to get on the record that he's not saying any damage has been done, but he's concerned that it could be done. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
If you
yes.
want to speak, I think he just wanted it on the record that if something,
Right.
if you could just speak to that briefly, if that's okay?
I haven't seen the letter, but it's my understanding, he lives on Sheridan Park. It was relative to potential damage to his sprinkler heads, which are close to the roadway. Sheridan Park has a kind of a unique topography where it's pretty flush with the road. Rick Amaral from DNR is meeting with them. He's already spoke with Peter, and they're going to work that out individually with each home on that roadway. So it may end up a little bit different. The remainder of the neighborhood, we are installing asphalt curbing. Most of the curbing is either dislodged or destroyed, or it's believed by DNR that it will probably disintegrate once they start the repaving effort. So residents that have granite, that will be reset in place. So it's obviously granite doesn't go anywhere. And they've also made an offer to the residents, which we appreciate, that anyone that wants to install granite instead of asphalt will have the option. I think it was like $75 a foot. So some residents may, and they will handle that separately from the Betterment Act directly with the contractor. So we appreciate that. But we are aware of some issues on Sheridan, and he's been kind enough to deal with it.
And if I could, through you, Mr. Chair, ask Ms. Marr if she could forward Mr. Sarandello's email to Mr. Jack Hurd, just so he has it, and his name's referenced in there.
Sure.
And it says that he thought he was also sending it to you, but I just don't see your name in here.
Okay.
So, and he said exactly what you just said, so he
All
just
right,
wanted it
sounds
on the
good.
record. So, with that, I'd like to move approval for the Kelwin Manor betterment request for repairs to their private way. And can I move at the same time approval of their betterment order, or does that need to be two separate votes through you, Mr. Chair, to Attorney Cunningham?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mrs. Mahan. I think two separate votes would be appropriate.
Okay, so I guess I'll do, if it's okay, I'll do the first one, move approval of the request to repair private way for the Kelwin Manor betterment.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Mrs. Mahan. Any more comments, questions? Second.
Second that and say something I usually say with these, even though we didn't have any folks coming to us tonight to protest, sometimes we do. And I'll note that two members of the select board, to my knowledge, live on private ways. And, the town has no control over the situation, that the residents in private ways, because of state law, have to fund the repair of their road service. The town cannot provide funds to do that. So, it was a system that was set up many decades ago. People who made property developments made decisions to not build those roads to grade for whatever reason, and everybody now is bound to live with those consequences. So that's something that from time to time I hear from residents, even in my own neighborhood where we're a bunch of private ways, is why is this even fair? And, it just is the way it is. So I also know from living in one of those how much work it is to organize this, and you've done a really great job with that. So I wish you the best of luck in the project.
Thank you.
All right, so a motion to approve the request to repair a private way by Mrs. Mahan, seconded by Mr. Helmuth. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That is a 4-0 vote with one recusal. All right,
Mr. Chair, if I could, in closing, could I just take the opportunity, first of all, Alan and Luana Preston from our neighborhood and from our roads committee, Luana are here. John Ma's help has been amazing for us to keep us intact with all the rules and regulations, and we had an outstanding roads committee that met probably, 25 times over the 2-year period, and I'd like to recognize them as well. In addition to our, work with Mr. Feeney over and over, and, probably being a pain in the neck at times, but, and as I said earlier, Bill Copperthon was outstanding, so we very much appreciate the process. And thank you for the vote.
I just want to say, if I could, Mr. Chair, Mr. Feeney and Mr. Cunningham have been very, very helpful during this process. And Ashley as well.
And of course, Ashley, I'm sorry. You're the one I bugged the most, but I'm sorry.
we do have one more motion.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Kelwin Manor Betterment Order.
We have a motion to approve by Mrs. Mahan,
Yeah, second.
seconded by Mr. Solomon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Unanimous vote.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We can get Mr. Corsi back.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Corsi. Your road will look a lot better soon.
Apparently some nice curbing, too.
We'll send you a bill.
The tires in the neighborhood will be happy.
Times, oh my yard.
All right, that brings us on to item number 11, final votes and comments. Article 37, disposition of real estate for 0 Reed Street. Turn to the board. Mrs. Mahan?
I'd like to move approval, final votes of comments for Article 37.
All right, we have a motion to approve,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Corsi.
Just one question,
Yep.
Mr. Chair. One good thing about this is it sort of highlighted one of the many steps that the town manager has implemented along with his staff for trying to find some revenue, possible revenue sources in the town. And so, not that there was any negative to it, but, and in the end, we had to vote no action for the reasons that town council advised us on. And I guess I would just leave it with the town manager and town council, if there's, going forward, if there's anything that we can do to set up a policy, or whatever you want to call it, one of the P's, policy, procedure, protocol, whatever, that in the future, unless it comes from within the town or school department, that we can let residents, developers, et cetera, know that, yes, you're right, this is available, and maybe sort of give them a checklist of whatever, 1 or 2, 3 things. Most importantly, determining ownership of the site, if the town truly does own it or not. Just because, and not that any time was wasted, but just in terms of, so it's not at a warrant article hearing and then we vote to postpone, and then in the end, vote no action. It's a lot of extra meetings. We're here, we get paid big bucks to be here, but for, anyone going forward. And again, that's nothing critical or untoward, this is something brand new, and I'm glad to see that we're taking the option of it. That's it, thank you.
All right. So on item 11, Article 37, disposition of real estate, final votes and comments. We have a motion to approve by Mrs. Mahan, seconded by Mr. DeCoursey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That is a 5-0 vote. That brings us to open forum. It's a long-awaited return. We'll see if this, I can tell that there's no one in the chamber to talk, but except in unusual circumstances, any matters presented for consideration of the board shall neither be acted upon nor a decision made the night of the presentation in accordance with the policy under which the open forum was established. It should be noted that there is a 3-minute time limit to present a concern or request. So if any residents that are participating via Zoom want to raise their hand,
Seeing no hands raised.
seeing none, that closes our open forum and takes us to traffic rules and order. Item number 12, discussion and approval, draft select board report to town meeting. Attorney Cunningham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is a draft select board report that has been included as part of the materials for tonight's meeting. It was available to the public for its review. I just want to thank the select board for its work on this document. It was a joint effort. A lot of work went into this, and I really appreciate the time and effort that the board puts into this report every year. Obviously, this is the report that hopefully we'll get to the printers tonight or tomorrow morning if it's approved. That goes to all town meeting members to notify them about the articles that came before the board for its consideration. So they're as well prepared as they can be to vote on matters at town meeting.
Has to get to the printers.
Tonight,
That's right.
not tomorrow, tonight.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I would be remiss if I didn't actually highlight Ms. Maher's work on this document as well. She's put in a lot of time. The Select Board Administrator certainly dedicated a lot of her resources to this effort, and that's appreciated as well.
Absolutely. We urge members to push this. All right, I'll turn to the board for any comments, questions, or motions. Mrs. Mahan.
I'd like to move approval of the select board report to town meeting, and just one question.
Yes.
Just because this is the first time I've done it in this format, and I should have asked Ms. Maher or Attorney Cunningham this question today. I did go through the 95 pages. Honestly, I read word for word with my pen what came from the select board office in town council. I skimmed through like what the town clerk attached for the dog rules and what, zoning law was attached. So I wasn't as careful with that. But what my question is, I went through and made my changes, and then I wasn't sure. So then at the end, I saved it again as a document and sent it to you. Was that overkill? Do you see, when I make my changes, do you see that? Or, so I don't have to save it? Or how do I do that correctly, if I could ask through you, Mr. Chair, Ms. Maher?
That's correct, Mrs. Mahan. I had track changes enabled, so when you were editing, I was able to see the changes that you were making. So
So I shouldn't have saved it and sent it to you?
doesn't matter, I mean.
But if I forget
it
to do
was-
that point,
yes.
okay. No, because I went through it and it took me 3 days, and then I'm like, I know it says track changes, but what if I do all this, and that's why I did the sec, so I don't,
No
we don't
problem.
have to do that in the future, but, okay, thank you.
Attorney Cunningham?
And perhaps I need to apologize, thank you, Mr. Chair, I apologize to Mrs. Mahan. There was a change that came late. It was at the suggestion of Mr. DeCoursey, a very good suggestion. The canine control bylaw revisions really pertain to one section of that bylaw. So we took out the entire bylaw, which I think it was 5 or 6 additional pages.
Mine's with which?
So now the draft motion just consists of the particular section.
Okay.
Because it was, and I think it's a good suggestion by Mr. DeCoursey. I think that's going to actually make it more clear for town meeting members about what they're voting on, rather than including the whole bylaw as it was, which made it a little bit difficult to find exactly where the changes were. So I apologize, Mrs. Mahan, for the additional 5 pages of reading.
So it could have been 90 instead of 95.
Could have been.
Thank you.
Mrs.
Yeah,
DeCoursey?
if it's any consolation, Mrs. Mahan, I did read through the whole bylaw before suggesting the change. But I'll second Mrs. Mahan's motion.
Well, at least now you're an expert on the canine control bylaw. If anyone has any questions, they know who to talk to. All right, Mr. Helmuth.
Thank you. Just a quick suggestion on that. I wholeheartedly agree with shortening that, but I think that for the annotated warrant online, I'd suggest, since it's digital, that we might furnish an attachment to the clerk of the entire bylaw just for town meeting members' reference, so if they want to see the context of the rest of it that we didn't change, that they have that available, but we can save a few trees by not printing the whole thing. And just a thank you to Attorney Cunningham, his staff, and Ms. Marr and everybody else who worked on this. I think the length of this, even with those excisions, might give Finance Committee a run for its money, and the length of report, so maybe we win this year. But it's a good piece of work, and it represents a lot of work, I know, from those who listen to our lengthy and occasionally long-winded debate to try to suss out what is important to us, and I think this report does that, so thank you.
I hope the length of the report isn't indicative of how long I'll have to stand in front of town meeting on these articles. I'll get the real succinct version from AI. All right, so we have a motion to approve from Mrs. Mahan, seconded by Mr. DeCoursey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It's a 5-0 vote. All right, item number 13 for discussion, board designee committee appointments. All right, so we should have the board appointments in front of us. There are a few that are empty. There could be, so of the committee appointments that were, sorry, did I skip some? No. Of the opening, so I will say first, for filled appointments, are there any that members would like to step back from?
I would just say, and I know I'm only on officially one, and I'm certainly willing to continue on CDBG, but if there's anyone else that has a hankering,
Yep.
I'll gladly maybe switch or something. But I'll gladly do CDBG again, but I just don't want to be like, if anyone wants to do it, but they're like, oh, Mahan's, she's on it, can't bump her. Just, let me and the chair know.
Yep. All right. And Mr. Solomon, if there's any that you are jumping out to, because some of these have two, because of the open meeting law, we can have two board designees, so you can certainly jump on anything except CDBG, but with Mrs. Mahan's comments, you can welcome yourself to that one as well.
The one that stood out would be Transportation Advisory Committee.
Yep.
Looks to be vacant.
Yep. So you can certainly take that, and then I think Mr. Helmuth is going to talk about the Rainbow Commission.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think that might just be, this being slightly out of date due to Mr. Dickens' departure, but I at least informally took over for him as liaison to the Rainbow Commission. I'm happy to continue that in a formal capacity.
And so
If you could put me on as a second member, I can be back up.
That'd be great.
If there's any time that,
all right. And so I seem to be on a few committees here. So we have Traffic Advisory Committee, Rainbow Commission's filled. Is the Housing Plan Implementation Committee, is that meeting? Is that a committee that's in place?
I'm not sure
I
that's
don't
active,
know what that
Mr.
is.
Chair.
I think that was just Lenny's.
All right, we'll skip that one.
Yeah, I don't think they're actively meeting.
And is there anyone that would like to be the liaison for the Bicycle Advisory Committee?
This might make sense.
Sure.
Goes with tech a little bit.
All right. And
I say we throw Solomon on everything else. Just kidding. It's
we're
family.
always welcome to have another A10 representative too. So I think that, and then I will put myself as the second on long-range planning. Now that all the heavy lifting's done.
I wouldn't mind being a second on the bicycle.
Bicycle Advisory Committee.
Back up.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Meyer, did you get
I
all
got
this?
all that.
All right.
Thank you.
So we don't need a vote on this one. We will move on to item number 14, process for issuance of 2 additional all alcohol package store licenses. Mr. Feeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the board's consideration this evening is what I'll call a repeat of the process it undertook I understand, roughly 20 years ago to issue the first package store licenses in the community, at which point the board had sort of designed and set out a publicly advertised and competitive process, knowing that there was likely to be more interested applicants than it had licenses available. I would expect the board to find itself in a similar situation with the 2 licenses that were just approved during the annual town election on March 28th. There's already been significant preliminary interest in what the process is going to be for obtaining those licenses. So knowing that and knowing the board may wish to have a process whereby they can weigh the relative merits of any number of applications at a time, that instead of pursuing just sort of issuance of those 2 licenses, which are obviously essentially a commodity here in the community, that you may wish to consider a process where you invite applications during a sort of application period and then consider weighing all of those applications at the same time and choosing what this board believes would be the 2 best fits for the Arlington community and that would deliver the best sort of economic development impact for the community. So, I did provide a memo in the board's materials this evening that provided for sort of the background as to how these 2 licenses came to be, which I know the members here are familiar with, as well as a recommendation, if so inclined, to adopt a competitive licensing process for these 2 new licenses. And I proposed some potential dates. Under the ABCC guidelines, in order for someone to appear before this board, they must have documented and demonstrated site control, which means they would need to have a signed lease. We thought if we were to advertise the process now, and knowing that the board only meets once during the months of July and August, that it may be best to invite the application period in early September to give the folks in planning and community development, as well as the town, the ability to spread the word. We can submit advertisements, put out feelers to different professional organizations to try to attract the best businesses, and then we would hold hearings at the board's already scheduled September 28th meeting, which would comply with the ABCC requirements to post legal advertisements for each of those individual hearings to occur on the same evening. And then the board has for consideration a set of criteria that they wish to adopt that they could use as functional comparative evaluation criteria, by which we would be making public essentially the things that applicants would be scored on before they submit. So there would be a fair and consistent process throughout. So with that, as I said, I did provide some recommendations, and if the board was so inclined to proceed in this manner, a requested action that you as the local licensing authority would vote to authorize the issuance and posting of a public notice inviting applications for these 2 newly authorized licenses for the sale of all alcoholic beverages not to be drunk on the premises in a manner consistent with the timeline and elements contained in the memo before the board this evening, and of course, subject to any revisions the board may wish to make this evening if it wishes to entertain this process. Of course, it is not a requirement to do so, just something that the board may wish to consider given the strong preliminary interest in the 2 recently authorized all alcohol package store licenses. Thank you.
Mr. Feeney, turn to the board for any questions, comments, or motions. Mr. Corsi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Feeney, for the memorandum. And I know we have a 2-week requirement for the notice. I'm a little concerned about the timing on the applications because Labor Day is late this year, so that's the last week of the summer. But you probably don't want this to go too far into September, but I'm wondering maybe we cut it off for like Wednesday, September 9th, because I think September 7th is Labor Day. And maybe, if it's the last week, I guess, if people know, I'm not that concerned. I'm just concerned about the final date. But if we did it by September 9th, we'd still have time to publish the notice, is that right?
I would defer to Ms. Marr, but I believe the legal ad only has to be out at least 10 days in advance of the hearing.
Okay.
So we would have the ability to potentially extend the application deadline a bit further.
Okay, so maybe Friday of that week then, and just to give people a little time. So I'll make a motion to approve the process as outlined in the town manager's memo, with the exception of the deadline being Friday, September 11th. And then that still gives us time for the 28th. The other thing I would say, Mr. Chairman, is assuming we get more applications, I think between now and September, we should get an idea what's going on that last license at 232 Mass Ave, because we've asked for updates. I see that it looks like there's some work going on there, but I think if that's not completed by September and there's a lot of other interest, we should consider what the future is of that license, because it was issued so long ago, and we know there were some issues with the ABCC. I think there may have been some issues with the ZBA, but I think we need to see what's happening there, because it just feels far too long, particularly if there's interest in other locations.
Ms. Naj?
I will second that, and I have a question, and also with having a new board member, Mr. Solomon, joining us, I would ask through the chair, if for some reason any member or members of the board were going over the full policy for these two licenses and possibly a third, and say had something they wanted to discuss or change around our policy around what I'll call NIPS, or our policy around delivery, would it be something that we'd have to do tonight, or would we have time before, like, are we going to, after, if we do vote this tonight, which I just seconded it, are we going to advertise starting tomorrow? Or what is the process if people haven't had a chance to review or re-review the full policies on that, and don't want to make any changes? Or this is it? Changes should be tonight.
No, I would just say, this is just laying out the process for people to apply. We can change our liquor policy in any meeting, ever.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, by the time they apply, at the hearing, if we change something, then we'll just advise them that before the hearing occurs. But it's not, I don't think, any change to our actual liquor policy are in this document.
Okay, so I'll reread the whole thing again, just to make sure. But I think I'm fine with everything that's in there. But I can't come to recall exactly what, I know we have a delivery policy. And people have asked me about, what about NIPS? And I said, I'm pretty sure we don't allow those, but I need to go back and re-review that. So that's why I asked the
Defer to
question.
Attorney Cunningham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in response to Mrs. Mahan's question, I think, yeah, the board as local licensing authority has pretty broad discretion. I think the intent, and I think it's a good one that the manager set forward here, is more a timeline in trying to prevent applicants from filing their applications now and potentially bumping up against an argument contained, supported potentially by Chapter 138, Section 16B, that may require local licensing authority to act within a certain period of time. This way, you set a timeline for applicants where they know, okay, we're going to get in here, and then we're going to have a hearing at this date, and it's far enough out that you give people a fair process, an effective process that's going to allow people, a wide range of potential applicants the time to get in. As far as the criteria that the board considers at its hearing when that occurs in late summer, early fall, that can be changed, as Mr. Hurd's suggesting, at some point if the board decides it wants to prioritize different criteria during the course of the summer, and just let the applicants know, change the policy, but the timeline hasn't changed. I think that's the real key part of the manager's memorandum to the board, is setting out a fair, effective process that's going to allow people to apply now, but not, and to seek, to know when the application is going to open, and not put the board in a spot where it has to consider the applications right away.
Right, I mean, that's fine. And I guess what I'm really doing is taking advantage of the opportunity to say, everyone should look at them, re-look at them, or look at them new, I would say if there are any changes, sooner rather than later, so that anyone going for these, can know it upfront. And then I'm going to assume that we're going to do past practice, what we've done with these alcohol licenses as well as the cannabis is also, because people will ask us the question, are you going to make the decision that night or another night? And I'm assuming we'll go with past practice, which is we'll make the decision that night unless there's some circumstances where we say we need to table it and do it to the next meeting. Is that correct?
That would be the intent, yep.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The intention of determining when the hearings would be was solely to ensure we had stated compliance with the statute that underpins this, but I think it would be within the board's discretion at the conclusion of that hearing to either decide, or if in fact it looked like more information was needed, the boards could certainly continue that discussion at its discretion to a future meeting, but it was simply to define when the hearing would be held. And I think that, just to reiterate, the actual decision-making would be up to the board as the local licensing authority at that time.
Thank you.
Mr. Solomon?
Quick question through you. There's criteria being set that I'm assuming applicants would want to look at and understand as it leads up to the application period. When is that established, or is that something that planning would establish at some point soon, so there's a time period for them to evaluate that?
So, Mr.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Solomon. So there's actually a set of criteria outlined within the memorandum which the board could consider this evening. This does not necessarily amend or replace any of the board's existing alcohol policy or regulations, as Ms. Marr was referring to previously. So, for example, if the board at a meeting in June determined they did not want to permit the sale of nips, for example, and that was a policy document, no matter what any of the applications received for these licenses, those potential licensees would all have to meet the board's current policy standards. Obviously, the criterion that are proposed here for comparative evaluation, which are just an updated set of that which was used in 2006, sort of define broad categories, but they don't necessarily make explicit recommendations on that which needs to be met, other than numbers 1 through 5, which are currently outlined in the board's liquor policy. So if the board was going to adopt something at a future date that, say, amended 1 through 5 or added to that list, that's something, whatever public advertisement is made for this license process would need to be updated.
Okay. So essentially, this is what the board is saying as a town and the board, this is what we look for in applicants. At the end of the day, we look at the group of individuals, and we can choose whatever one we think is most appropriate. Any other comments? Yep, Mr. Helmuth?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wonder, I don't know if this is necessary, but would we want to say anything in the second set of criteria, numbers 1 through 11, about control of the site? And I'm thinking, not only do you have a lease, but are there any special permit, zoning, variance, issues like that? And I'm thinking back to Mr. DeCourcy's mention of our experience at 232 Mass Ave, where that really proved to be material in how this played out. I don't know if there's a way we could do that, but just to encourage applicants to think about that and to know that the board will be evaluating that competitively against other applicants.
Mr. Feeney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Helmuth. I would point to, it appears the board had considered that element previously, and it says the location is, for criterion number 6, the location is compliant with zoning and other criteria at the discretion of the board.
Unfortunately, they come to us first. Yeah, it's kind of out of order in that one. Mr.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. And then that's there's like this conflict between the licensing law and the zoning law where you need compliance. And I think it's hard for someone to expend a lot of money on zoning issues if they don't know they have the license. So I mean, the last time we gave them the license, but then it took forever beyond what we expected. So I think we may have put a reasonable time requirement to complete zoning, but I understand the dilemma people are in when they come before us.
And I appreciate that too. I think that, given our recent experience with that particular situation, I might, and I know that I'm free to do this regardless of what we publish here, but advocate for, if one applicant, if two applicants are equal, other things being equal, and one does not have any zoning problems, I think that would be a fair criteria for the board to consider, given that we want to get this business up and running. So, yeah, I'm fine with item 6 as it is being encompassing that, but I think it's good to raise the point.
Yep. And my only comment, and I'm not sure if it's in here, but I guess it could go in a couple of these, but we're at appearance of the proposed facility. I'd like to make a specific reference to our sign bylaws, and then have us do a little brainstorming on how we can hold applicants accountable, because every time we have a new package or application in here, we tell them about the sign law, we tell them we want it compliant with the sign law, and it just seems to fade by the wayside once they start in operation, so. And I think we should hold all of our current license holders to the same standard, as far as compliance with the sign bylaw. So I would say, Mr. Gorsuch, if we could just make that one small amendment.
Absolutely.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. DeCoursey to approve with a few amendments as noted, and a second by Mrs. Mahan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is a unanimous vote. That takes us to correspondence received. We have memorandum to request 4-hour parking signs on Mystic Street. Ms. Mahan?
Move receipt, and I guess would I refer this to the chair, to the town manager?
Second.
And I just note that he's, the proponent is citing a recommendation in the 2014, I believe a 2014 consultant report, and I don't know how germane or, being 12 years later. But I'll leave that to the town manager and his staff to determine, so move receipt.
And we-
Refer to the manager.
Yes, and we also have a memo responding to the request as well.
Oh, okay.
All right, so a motion to receive by Ms. Mahan, any second?
I'll second that, and I think I like our kind of new practice that we adopted, within the recent past of mostly referring these to the town manager, who has the option then to, and we've empowered to refer things to TAC if they want to expend those resources on that, but that sounds good to me too.
All right, so we have a motion to receive by Mrs. Mahan, seconded by Mr. Helmuth. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Unanimous vote. New business.
No new business, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Attorney Cunningham.
No new business, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Feeney.
No new business, thank you.
Mr. DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, and I appreciated Attorney Cunningham referencing the discussion we had in Article 37 about the potential to sell surplus town property. And I think we've talked about this the past few years, but I'd like to ask at some point in the future to ask the town manager, maybe to ask the assessors to produce a list of parcels that are town-owned that are less than 6,000 square feet that aren't buildable for potential consideration for, the city of Boston used to call it a yard sale program, but surplus property, because I think we're at a point where we're all in agreement that this is something we should look into. We saw it on the Stratton Safe Streets program where there was a parcel on the corner of Governor Road and Hemlock that was owned by the town that, perhaps an abutter would like to acquire it. That's those type of things. It's not buildable. So if we could, maybe I could follow up with the town manager and maybe through you, Mr. Chair, come back and suggest a time for further discussion. But I think
Sure.
we're at a point where it makes sense to try to go forward with that.
Sure.
Thank you. That's all I have for new business.
All right, Mrs. Mahan.
Just two things. First, on the audit, which used to be Powers and Sullivan, and then it was CBiz, and now it's Roselli. And I understand there's a meeting coming up soon for the 2025 year-end audit. if the board, and the chair and vice chair may have already have this, but if the rest of the board could also get a copy of that audit report, and then, as with past practice, any questions or any points that the remaining three of us would like either the chair or the vice chair, because I understand you're both going to that meeting, we'll just pass on to you.
Sure.
And then my second, new business, I just had brief conversations with the comptroller, Ms. Cody, and with the deputy town manager, Ms. Wayman, regarding we get the quarterly report from Ms. Wayman and Ms. Cody on town and school budgets and revenue and how they're tracking, et cetera. And two of the requests that I had that are in the 30, 40-something page report, but I've asked them to be a little bit more highlighted in the verbal presentation and/or the way they, and the way they appear in the Munis report. One can be changed, the other one is a function of Munis, you can't change the name of it, but the two, and if there's any other member of the board, because the year-end report will be, it closes June 30th, and we'll probably get that sometime over the summer or in September. But I've asked Ms. Wayman and Ms. Cody if they could, what I'm calling the turn back information, which is in there, but it's, you need to know to look for it. So, and I have had conversations with our colleagues in the school committee, including the new chair, Ms. Gittleson, as well as my co-chair on the override, Mr. Thielman, and Dr. Holman, kind of putting a friendly challenge out, saying that, you know, moving forward, at least for the next 3 or 4 or so years, that their goal would be to turn back more than the select board office budget does. And as well as perhaps a few town departments. Just where, and I'm not saying it isn't being done, but, you know, we really need to, the town manager stressed in, you know, providing information for the override, also stressed that with or without the override, and thankfully we do have the override, there still need to be consolidations and efficiencies looked at and implemented, because there still need to be some trimming, or whatever word you want to use. So I did have a conversation regarding the, what I call the turn back category, so that will be highlighted a little bit more. And then the other one was regarding the override fund. I think it's on page 30-something. There's 3 funds listed. The first 2, you can tell what they are because they're self-explanatory, because they include, you know, capital planning, reserve fund, and unencumbered free cash. But then the third one is the override, because people have said to me, well, how are you going to watch these money and make sure that you're being good stewards of it? It's in there, but you wouldn't know. When I met with Ms. Cody and Ms. Wayman, I said, and they said they could make this change if we could make it a little bit more, you know, add the word override in there so that you know when you're searching for it. So, and please know, everybody in this room, not just the people behind the table with me, but the town manager and others, as well as the school side, will be watching over and looking for everything we can in the next 3+ years regarding the taxpayers' money that they were kind enough to vote yes for. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Solomon?
No new business.
Mr. Helmuth?
No new business.
And mine is, we came with a little less fanfare this year, but our second 250 celebration, or third really, the last leg of the 250 celebration is this weekend. We unfortunately were not able to put together the reenactment, but we do still have a number of events that if residents go on the 250 website, including Menominee Beer Hall, free tours at the Jason Russell House, the annual Dawes and Revere ride at Town Hall here, and Restaurant Week. So be on the lookout for that to go, and it's a good opportunity to get out in town and support our local businesses. And to thank again the 250 committee and everyone that works on that, because I have not been able to participate as much this year as I did last year. So I'm thankful that there were a number of individuals that were taking care of that. All right, so with that,
Move to adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn by Mrs. Mahan, seconded by
Second, somebody.
Mr. Solomon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Unanimous vote.